Hello, this is lesson 2 of the decipherment of Egyptian hieroglyphs. In lesson 1, I challenged 2 computer programs that claim that they can decipher ancient languages to decipher these hieroglyphs from here to here. And I sent an email to Daniel Klein at the University of California, Berkeley, and 4 staff members at MIT. Ann Stewart, Communications Officer in the Department of Computer Science, Scott Aronson, Associate Professor of Computer Science, the Department of Linguistics, and Mr. E. Adelson, Professor of Vision Science, and I asked him to direct me to the correct department to make that challenge. And I sent out those emails on February 13th and 14th. Today is April 1st, and I have not received a reply from anybody. Now I know that these computer programs cannot correctly decipher these hieroglyphs. And this, what is happening here in this scene. But I can't prove it because they won't participate in the challenge. And I don't think they're interested. So I'm going to go ahead with lesson 2. This picture here is from the Hunefer papyrus. And when I enlarged it to this size here, it came out badly blurred, so I had to redraw it. Now, to understand what Egyptian hieroglyphics mean, or this picture here, it's helpful to understand what it doesn't mean. And this person right here, well, let me first state that some of these labels here are not correct. They came with the picture. I don't know who's responsible for them. But this person here is not the soul of Set. This is not the heart. Now this person here is the same person back here. He's being guided by Anubis, here Horus. But it's not the soul of Set. Now these 4 figures right here are not the sons of Horus. And this here is not the lake of fire. And this shrine here is not the underworld hall of judgment. Osiris is not the judge of the dead. Now, this figure up here is the same figure as this figure below, person, but it's not the soul of Set. I'll tell you what it is in just a minute. Now, this god here, the name here, Ra-Haru Kute, is partly correct. Kute is not necessary. It's Horus Ra. This is not Tefnut. Tefnut is a goddess with a head of a lion, and she has a solar disk on her head. This is Nut. Now this is not Nut. We got those reversed. Nut does not have the head of a lion. This is Bastet or Bast. Now, these 5 figures here are not utterance, perception, southern, northern, and western ways. Now the common or current explanation of this person here is the soul of Hunefer. No, that's wrong also. The hieroglyphs tell us who it is. See this sign here, this line, and this sign here? That's a principle of you if you desire to be led by Anubis. Now, who is Anubis? Well, Anubis is a human with the head of a jackal. A jackal can hear and sense things that other humans can't. It senses the hidden meaning of these hieroglyphs. Now, in its hand here is the ink that does not symbolize eternal life, as some say. It means the truth of life. Anubis is the truth of life. Excuse me. Now, this scene here is commonly referred to as the weighing of the heart. That's wrong. Well, the weighing of the heart here of the deceased, to determine here if he led an unethical life, if so, this beast here will devour his heart. And it's determined that he led an ethical life, then he passes here into the afterlife. Now that's wrong. The hieroglyphics don't say that. Now, in my first video, I was explaining this disagreement I had with Phil Montgomery over the meaning of these hieroglyphs from here to here. There's 13 columns here. And the scale only appears here in this one place. And part of his translation was, "Do not oppose me in the scale of the gods." Well, the hieroglyphs here don't say that. Neither does it say the heart is being weighed. Now, Anubis here is kneeling on this platform here. And he is pointing out here. See here, he's pointing to you rightly understanding these principles, human and divine. And with his left arm here, he is referring to the scale or the scales. Now, one of those principles here is Ma'at. I've heard people say that this is the goddess of truth and justice. No, that's wrong. It's a principle of your spirit of mind here and body, sexual. You determine when it's right, body, mind, and spirit. Now the ring around this feather here represents, that's a principle of the sun. And Anubis here is referring to this as the principle or power of life. Now another principle here of this scale is that these two spirits here, carnal and holy, both are right. See here? Both are right. Now some religions of the world say that if you're carnal-minded, you're damned, you're going to hell. Well, that's a false doctrine. When you deny the right of expression of either one of these, that creates an imbalance. Discord and resentment. Both of these individuals, secular and religious, contribute something that is different, that is beneficial to the world. The world needs both of these options. That creates harmony. Now look down here, you can see here there are two more principles here. These two signs right here represents you have the right to express your carnal or Holy Spirit here so long as you're not hurting anybody. Now this is the divine law. sometimes the human law does not match that. Now, as I said before, this sign here is not the heart. No place in these hieroglyphs up here does it say the heart is being weighed. This is a jar. And it represents 2 powers of your body blood, or egg, your genetic potential. Now this feather over here is a principle of your spirit, what you believe and desire. When you're determining how to use these 2 powers of your egg or your body's blood, representing the energy of life, you do so with the understanding that both these spirits, carnal and divine, are both right. Now, Amemet, or Amemet, is a danger that confronts everybody in this process or as they're passing through life here. It is 1/3 hippopotamus, lion, and crocodile. Now what that stands for is that your desires here of mind and body and your senses control your physical body here, the power of sex, carnal and divine. And what happens, Amemet here engages in unethical and criminal behavior to satisfy its desires. Now if you do those type of things, you see this sign here in these 2 legs? That's a principle of you, male and female. Now that ruins or sets back your chances of being a successful secular or a religious person, because there are consequences to this behavior. Well, you can destroy your relationships with people, give yourself here a bad profile, and or reputation. It can cost you money. You could end up in prison or be killed. Now, Amemet here is looking at these hieroglyphs, representing the purpose here of you being guided by Anubis and Horus over here, is so that you will not commit these evil acts. Now, let's move on. I've heard people say that Thoth here is recording the proceedings, the trial of the heart of the deceased. No, that's wrong. What he is gesturing here with his arm, that you should rightly grasp, well, he's holding here the palette, representing you should rightly grasp hieroglyphs, is human and divine knowledge. See by the 4 fingers and the 5th here, and the principles of the sun, human and divine, and they are drawn by the intelligence of the 4th and 5th kingdom, or human and divine. Now, Thoth is a human with the head of an ibis, which means hieroglyphs were never the spoken language of Egypt. And the reason for that is that an ibis does not have a speech box. And that is what Thoth is teaching us here. Now, This next person is the same person over here. This sign says it's a principle of you if you desire to be led by Horus. Now, who is Horus? Well, it's a human with the head of a falcon. A falcon has vision 2.6 times sharper than a human. And Horus is gesturing here with his right hand, the divine spirit of man. And he holds the ankh here in his hand here, representing Horus. The divine spirit of mind is the truth of life. And he's explaining to this individual here who his father and mother are and how he is born. Now, this sign here at the bottom, and these lines here, these double lines here, represents the knowledge of these male and female carnal and divine powers of the human temple. Now, Osiris here represents the Divine Father. He holds in his hand here the crook and the flail, representing the principle of study and discipline. Two right spirits, 2 quarters of the law. And he sits on this chair here, representing the knowledge of the lower law here, or human, and the higher law here, divine. Understanding these principles gives him support to exercise this power. Now, this rectangle here with the wavy lines represents water is an essential force for the lotus blossom. And it originates here from your seed or egg. Now his foot here on this rectangle, on this knowledge, represents he has to understand that water is a symbol of the body's vital force, the same as blood. Now, the lotus here, these 3 petals, represents the Father, Mother, Son spirit of you or your mind. And the 2 lotus leaves here represents this Son spirit can be carnal or divine. Now these 4 figures up here, I've heard some people say is 4 cardinal points. North, south, east, and west. No, that's wrong. They represent the 4 essential elements of lotus unfoldment. 1, you have to be virile or sexually mature, represented by the beard. 2, you have to understand the law and practice it. 3, you have to have the right spirit of mind. And 4, you have to do the right things. If any one of those essential elements are missing, the lotus flower does not blossom. Now behind Osiris stand Nephthys and Isis. 2 mother principles human and 2 mother principles divine. This sign up here represents 2 powers of life of your mind and subjective knowledge. Now these 2 straps holding up this skirt here represents your subjective spirit. These 2 laces in this sign here represents the 2 powers of what you like and dislike or believe and disbelieve. And the feet here represents how good you understand these 2 principles of the mother, human and divine. Now you see here that their arms here, and here, they influence what Osiris thinks and does. The outer physical man. Now this column here of hieroglyphs represents the combined spirit of Nephthys and Isis. These two columns here is a speech of Osiris. Now this eye up here represents the human eye. When it sees and grasps these principles of the sun here, or these Egyptian hieroglyphics, that gives the power of your mind and your spirit here to animate or arouse the divine firepower represented by this feather here. Now, Osiris here is a latent or dormant principle or power of the human temple. The same with Nephthys and Isis. They have to be activated. Now, these two lotus flowers here, one on each side, represents the human temple as the power to unfold the spirit, carnal and divine. And these columns here of hieroglyphs represents carnal and divine knowledge helps you to do that. Now these hieroglyphs up here represent the hieroglyphic knowledge of these powers or principles, human and divine. They are partly distributed here through the text. There's one here. Here's another one. There's another one here. Another one here. Etc. Now, at the top is a row of uraei or cobras. And on their head is a disc representing the sun or light guides your different powers of life. And this double line here represents the knowledge that this sun can be human or divine. Now up here at the top are 14 gods and goddesses, representing 14 different descriptions of human and divine genetics. And this sign here represents these are powers of you. You can see the ankh here on 7 of these, representing when you practice genetics, that's the truth of life. Now this bottom sign here, or platform here, represents the knowledge of these 14 gods and goddesses. This is the knowledge that Thoth here is referring to, and here, and other places in this picture. Now, this table here represents the truth of these powers of your mind and inner spirit. And the two powers of speech here, human and divine. Now, this person here is the same person as below. But now, he is kneeling on this one leg here, representing he now understands these principles of the fourth and fifth kingdom. The two human and divine powers of mind, the two right and biased spirits, and these principles here of the underworld, earth, and heaven of the birth of the sun. After he's being instructed by Anubis, Horus, and taught by these 14 gods and goddesses. Now these hieroglyphs up here represents their message to him. This leg here represents, now that he understands these principles, he has to decide what his next step is. Up here are his words. Now I have explained the meaning of these larger images. That is enough for lesson 2. There's only so much you can absorb at one time. And the written meaning of these smaller hieroglyphs and these columns here, here, up here, and over there, I'll do on another day. That'll be lesson 3. I'll probably create a website for that purpose. That's it for today.